It is raining this morning and it's 45 degrees out, but it's supposed to get up to like 60 or something like that today, I'm pretty sure. But I have a few little things to do today. I have to go do some estimates here this morning. I picked up 2 new lawns yesterday. Another bigger company in my area sent me. You can see I'm driving the GMC. Everything is back together and great. The steering is great. The brakes are great. I did finish putting the aerator back together last night, and did not film that. It runs great, it aerates great. The only issue with it is the rod that goes from the cable, or it goes from the cable and the connections for the throttle isn't the right cable, or isn't the right small piece of rod, about that long, it's supposed to be on it. So when I go to throttle it back down, it keeps popping off. So I have to bend that. I think I can extend it out straight because there's a bunch of curves in it. I think I can extend it straight to make it a little bit longer, put it in the 2 notches, and then re-bend it so it stays in there. We're gonna see, I'll mess with that later. But for right now, I have to go do even more estimates. So this is the problem I'm having. When I put this new carburetor on, the linkage was missing when I bought this machine. And so I had to get this rod that isn't the right one for this machine. But when I put the throttle up like it is right now and I pull it back, it brings it back. But, and that works perfectly fine. But as I hit and see, I throttle forward, it brings it back up, throttle down, it brings it back down. Here's the problem. When you hit bumps and the machine bounces around, this pops up and pops right out of there because it's just bent straight down. It should go down and then curve back that way, if that makes any sense. So because of the length of this thing, and I think it's probably longer than it needs to be right now, what I'm gonna do is, since it has this bend in it right here, if I can make that so you can see it, since it has that bend in it right there, I'm going to try to bend that up to make it straight so it's a little bit longer, and then bend these back down and then bend them back up the opposite way so they're kind of hooked in there. Like, it'll look like this. See how this one here for the choke comes up, it goes in and then back that way, so it's kind of like an S shape, so to speak. Well, that's what I'm going to attempt to do with both ends of this one. Okay, so when you don't have what you need, you have to learn how to improvise. And let me show you exactly what I'm talking about. So I showed you the rod. This is the new one. I showed you the rod that I had a problem with, and it would just keep falling out. And what I meant by the bends is, see how I have a bend there? How it comes up through and then bends that way, so it won't just fall out. This side here, it goes down and then bends this way, so then that one won't fall out. If I can get you a better view of how that's bent there and how this one is bent here. So now when I throttle up, it goes out. When I throttle down, it comes back without falling out either side, and it can't fall out either side. So this is the rod that was in there. Maybe I can put on a piece of paper here to show you better. This is the rod that was in there that I had to kind of imitate, right? And it just had one bend to come up through the linkage on one side, one bend to come up through the linkage on the other side, but they didn't make like an S shape on either end to keep them from falling out. So my initial thought was to take this. This is a cotter pin. And I flattened it out, and then I thought, you know what, there's a good chance that might bend. Probably not. There's not a lot of pressure under there, but it just wasn't long enough for me to get all the bends in it and still be the right length. So what I did was, this is a spike from a tent, you know, a regular tent that you go camping with. That's what this is from. The problem is the holes were slightly too small. So I took a real small drill bit and I drilled the holes out just a little bit bigger, enough so that I could get these in there. And I bent it, and it took a lot of back and forth. That's why I didn't film it. Probably took a good half hour to bend a little bit at a time. Bend one end, get it fitted in there, then bend the other end, and then it was too tight. It was binding up the linkage, so then I had to put this sideways bend in it in one spot, put it on there, try it again. Then I had to put this other bend in up here. A lot of back and forth, a lot of back and forth. And it took a lot, but now it's nice and smooth and it throttles up and it'll throttle all the way down. So I've mentioned to you guys before, sometimes you just have to finagle stuff. You have to fabricate, you have to create stuff just to make things work. And in this case, I mean, this is perfect. It would have taken me forever to find that linkage. I looked all over online to find proper carburetor linkage for that. I found a bunch of guys selling a lot of used stuff, and they'll send you like a whole old used carburetor and all the linkage, a bunch of pieces for like 25 bucks, no big deal. It's nice to have the spare parts anyway, but every time I looked at the picture, none of them looked correct. None of them looked like the stuff that I actually needed. So I started looking around stuff I had here in the garage, and I come up with this idea, and I have nothing better to do today. It's pouring rain outside, and you know, I knew that was going to happen to where I was going to have to mess around with it back and forth, but I was able to make it happen. So now it didn't cost me any money, just a half hour, 40 minutes of my time messing around with it. This thing is ready to go. That was the last thing I had to do to it. It's good to go. I did go and look at a job this morning for a friend of mine that I graduated with. He's now actually superintendent for a school district in my area, but he has a front yard that's just real patchy, and it's just, you know, there's a lot of patchy areas all over. So he wanted my opinion, and I told him that in my opinion, what we should probably do with it is plug aerate it, overseed it, and fertilize it, and let all the spring rain help it to grow, and I think it'll come in pretty well. So he said, yep, go ahead and do it whenever you have time. So hopefully, you know, if we don't get too much rain and it's not too soggy and squishy enough, that I can get in there next week and knock it out. I have a few more cleanups to do, not a whole heck of a lot, but I have a couple big mulch installs to do. So I don't know when I'm going to get to them, hopefully soon, but not this coming week. I'm going to try to wrap everything up this coming week, and the following week, the week of the 6th, looks like the week that I believe I'm going to start mowing. So I'm going to get all my letters emailed out to all my customers today and tell them that'll be the week that I start. It'll be pretty much the same letter I send every year. I tell them I plan on starting mowing on this week here. I'll go by every lawn. If I think they're too soft, it's going to cause damage, I'll skip it another week, and we'll try to get the first cut in the following week. And I'm just going to touch base with them all again. I've talked to a lot of them already, just to let them know that we are still up and running and everything is on schedule as planned. So that way it gives them a chance to tell me ahead of time if they think that they want to cut service for now, if, you know, they're out of work, they don't have the money, they're worried about how they're going to pay, so on and so forth. But so I just wanted to show you guys what I was doing on this and how I got this thing back together. Everything is good to go and running now. Just let me show you real quick. One more thing. I did end up sticking with this switch. I pulled the ignition all apart yesterday, and the plug, there's no plug that goes into the back of it like there's supposed to be. Somebody cut all them wires and spliced them all in, and so I don't know exactly which wire goes to which. I did get, I don't know, it's probably laying up, oh, it's right here. This is the new ignition, and this is the one that is stock, the OEM part for this machine. But like I said, somebody hacked it all together and put that ignition in, which is not the proper one because the back of it isn't even the same. So instead of messing with it, I took them all apart, cleaned everything up, put it all back together. They were all corroded. The main ground that goes from the ignition straight into the steel part of the upshaft over here was corroded and rusted. I cleaned that all off. I did put a new solenoid in there, if you can see that. Brand new solenoid, cleaned all those terminals and put it all back together. This switch here, it looks just like the one I know that was in there, but that's a brand new switch. I went to Napa, they had the same exact one, so I put a brand new switch in there. I followed all the leads down to the starter, pulled them off. They were all corroded, cleaned them, put them back on. The main ground that comes off the battery and goes to the frame underneath the engine, I was under there. I took that off, cleaned it all up, put that back together. So now everything has a good solid connection, and as soon as I did that, it fired right up. So I turned the key and pressed the button, and it fired right up. And then when I turned the key to shut it off, it shut right off. So that key goes to, it kicks on the fuel solenoid that's in there, and it kicks on 3 different relays. So that's why the ignition still works. When I turn the key back, it kills the engine. So as far as this machine goes, it's done. It's ready to go. I'm ready to start aerating. I can get a couple of these jobs knocked out that I have to aerate, overseed, and fertilize them. I think I only have 3 of them that I have to do, including the one that I just picked up today. Yesterday, I picked up 2 lawns. Let me cover this for you real quick. One of them is in a neighborhood I've wanted to get in. I kind of go around the neighborhood. I don't really do any in there. Ryan has one in there, I think, and this one is actually right across the street from where the one that Ryan has in there. But I've been wanting to get in a neighborhood, and another one I picked up is right across the street from another one that I do. So the way that I got those is another big company in my area. He called me and asked me if I wanted these 2 lawns, and so I went and looked at them. I gave him my price, and he said, well, this one is actually, I bill at $5 less per cut than what you want for it, and this one over here, I bill for $5 more a cut than what you want. He goes, so if you agree to do them for the prices I do, it equals out to the same that you want for them anyway. He goes, I just want to keep the landscaping on them. And the reason why he gave them to me is because they both have gates to the backyard that you can't get anything bigger than a 48 in. I have a 48, and he sold his, so he has nothing but 61-inch mowers. I've covered this before in videos, and I've told you guys, if you get a machine that you either have a 36 or even a 48, you can get in a lot of yards and pick up a lot of yards that a lot of these bigger companies can't, because they don't have the smaller machine and they have no interest in buying one. This guy was a perfect example. He has nothing but 61-inch decks, and he had 148, and he got rid of it over the winter. He doesn't want to mess with anything anymore that he can't put a 61-inch mower on. So he called me, gave them to me, I agreed to the prices, and we're good to go from there. So now there's 2 more lawns I just picked up, and I don't have time for the landscaping anyway, so it's good that he's going to take it. He focuses more on landscaping anyway, but I've discussed this before in videos. I told you guys, even a 48 you can get in a lot of gates, and especially a 36. So, you know, don't pass up on getting one of them, because in your area, and I'm sure it's the same in a lot of areas, there's a lot of bigger companies that just don't want to buy those smaller mowers. They want the biggest machines to get the biggest properties or get them done the fastest. So that opens up all those other yards for you. But on that note, I'm gonna end this one right here. I hope you guys are happy, healthy, staying safe, and for all of us, I hope that this whole thing goes away soon and this coronavirus is just ended before it gets worse. And I firmly believe that it's going to just level out, and it's kind of leveling out right now. The numbers seem to be going higher, but that's only because they're finally testing now to where they couldn't before. I don't think it's a whole series of new cases, but either way, in your area, I hope that you guys are still essential. I know a lot of states are changing it back, that lawn care was essential and now it's not. So for everybody, I hope we get through this sooner rather than later. But I will see you guys in the next one. As always, hit that subscribe, and thank you for your support.